Am I the jerk for demanding my sister pay me if she wants me to babysit my nephews, even if her best friend's mom is dying? Posted by you/pretend_mode_9494. I, 29F, am child-free by choice. My sister, Carlene, 27F, has 2 boys, ages 3 and 2. We live close to each other, and I've been in their lives since the beginning. We are each other's only family, coming from a broken and dysfunctional background. I love the boys, but they are a lot of work, especially on top of my career in social work and my personal reasons for not wanting kids of my own. I currently watch them/help out/babysit for about 10 to 20 hours a week, and it's becoming exhausting. The time I've been needed has slowly increased, and over the last 7-ish months, it's been like this. At first, it was Carlene looking for a part-time job, attending mandated courses to get unemployment, and occasional movie nights with friends, which I was okay with. Now, I spend most of my free time at their house. Lately, the reason has been that her best friend's mom is dying, and Carlene feels she needs to be there. She's a single mom, and I understand it's hard, but recently, I feel like she's using me, and I rarely see my fiancé as we both work shifts that change all the time. Sometimes, when she asks me to watch them and I have other plans, Carlene sends me a voice message of the boys crying, saying they miss me, guilt-tripping me, and implying it's a shame I care more about myself than them. She tells me she'd ask someone else if she had anyone else to turn to and says really hurtful things about me being selfish for wanting to enjoy date night when she has to choose between her kids and her best friend's dying mom. I could handle it if that were all, but now it's also affecting the next time we meet. When I get there, the house is a mess, there's nothing to eat, and it just happens to be the boys' bath day, or Carlene casually mentions that I need to pack a gym bag or something similar for them for the next day. These weird, extra tasks feel like obvious revenge. The first time this happened, I assumed she'd be grateful I helped where I could and that it wouldn't be an issue if I didn't have time to do everything. I was quickly proven wrong. Before she got home, she casually asked if I had done the extra tasks, and when I hadn't, at least not all of them, she suddenly had to stay out a little later. This happened a few times, and I'm ashamed to admit it took me too long to realize what was going on. I was just glad she was finally updating me on her estimated arrival time, something she usually never did. Another thing she does for what feels like revenge, though maybe it's just my exhaustion talking, is not preparing meals for the kids or even leaving money. When I go to the store, she promises to pay me back but, you guessed it, tries to guilt me into letting it slide. She's also failed to keep her word on things she promised, saying she doesn't want to do things for me if I can't help her with the boys. The excuses and backtracking start immediately if I don't do exactly what she wants. The latest example, I asked to borrow a dress for a wedding because I didn't want to buy one, and we had always shared clothes. She agreed, but 4 days before the wedding, I couldn't show up as fast as she wanted on short notice, so she told me I could forget about the dress. She said she'd forgotten she needed it herself. I had to panic buy one. Last month, she promised to pick me up after I dropped my car off for maintenance, but she didn't show up. I was stranded, and it took her 2.5 hours to answer her phone and finally get there. She even had the audacity to huff and puff about how inconvenient it was for her to pick me up. Sorry this is so long, but writing it all down has been mind-blowing. I can't believe what I've been putting up with. I'm such a doormat. So, yesterday, when she called desperately needing me to watch the boys for the evening, I told her I couldn't. When she started her usual tirade about me being selfish, I just snapped. I told her to shut up and listen. If she thought I was that horrible and selfish, she had 2 options: either stop relying on me so much and stop exposing her kids to my supposed selfishness, or I'd really start being selfish. I wouldn't watch them for free or again or do anything extra without being compensated. She hung up without saying anything. After I stopped shaking, I hate confrontation, as you can imagine, I started to panic. I feel like I just lost my last remaining family member. My fiancé said it was a long time coming and that I should have stood up for myself ages ago, but he's biased since he loves me. I don't really have time for proper friends outside of work colleagues, so I don't know who else to ask. Did I make the biggest mistake of my life? What if I never see my nephews again? What if I just stuck it out a bit longer and she'd eased up? Am I wrong for giving her that ultimatum? Edit. My 2 examples make it seem like I ask her for things or need her often, which I don't. The promises she breaks can be as simple as having food for the boys when I'm with them. The dress and leaving me without a ride are just specific events that were easier to explain, but I quickly realized they aren't accurate. Relevant comments. Commenter. Is there a reason the father of these children isn't helping take care of them? I can't imagine expecting a family member to step in and handle a significant portion of the parenting of my own children. If she wasn't prepared to be a parent, she shouldn't have had 2 children. Ops response. She got really angry at me when I asked about their dad whenever she was pregnant, and I just left it at that. She hasn't had a long-term boyfriend since high school, as far as I know. I don't even know if the kids have the same dad. I kind of doubt it due to their differences in skin tone and features. Commenter 2. If you think the boys are in an unsafe home, abuse, neglect, lack of food, call CPS. Ops response. I'm a mandated reporter due to my profession, and I've been trying to distance myself from the situation to assess whether I need to make the report. However, it's always so subtle, and she knows what to avoid doing and saying because she grew up with CPS. Commenter 3. You know that never seeing your nephews again is never going to happen. Your selfish sister has been taking advantage of you for too long, and to her, you standing up for yourself is just a temporary setback in her manipulations. The only way her behavior is going to change is when yours changes. You need to set clear boundaries and follow them with solid expectations of how you expect her to treat you. For example, guilt-tripping, name-calling, accusations, etc., need to end. If she tries any of these manipulative tactics, there should be clear consequences, and you need to follow through. If you tell her you can't babysit and she starts the guilt, tell her something like, "No babysitting for a month because of your behavior." Altering your behavior is the only way you can change hers. Oh, and all those times she needs to comfort her friend with a dying mother, you realize that's just BS. She wants free time away from the kids and is just trying to play on your empathy. Your sister is a class A jerk. Ops response. Thank you, I feel so stupid. I only realized the friend's mom thing was BS last week. I asked Carlene how she was doing, and she took a second too long to remember what I was talking about. Update 3 days later. A lot has happened. I'm trying to write concisely. During the first 24 hours after I gave her that ultimatum, I decided not to answer her calls or texts to let her cool down. She called 77 times and sent over 100 texts and voice messages. They were mostly just her calling me a horrible person who abandons her family. With my fiancé's help, I outlined a few rules for the future in case she comes to her senses and agrees to my terms. I wanted them ready, even though it seemed like she would never come around. My conditions included watching them up to 3 times in 2 weeks, for no more than 4 hours at a time. Meals needed to be provided. No bath time or bedtime. I wouldn't spend any money. I received messages from an unknown number accusing me of being a horrible sister because now they have to watch their mom die alone without Carlene there to comfort them. Based on my earlier suspicions and the language similarities, I believe it was my sister pretending to be her friend. I talked to my supervisor on Friday afternoon and asked for her opinion. I first asked if it was okay to discuss personal matters, and she was great about it. I don't work with children, and CPS has never been part of my work, so I wanted to double-check with someone more senior. We made a report together on Carlene. The supervisor said it was better to do so, especially now that things have escalated and she might retaliate against me by harming the boys, as she's clearly not about that. I'm probably going to give her next week to cool off before resuming contact, and depending on what the messages and voice messages say then, I might reach out. If they're as abusive as they are now, I probably won't respond at all. It makes me unbelievably upset, but I hope the boys will eventually have a more stable environment without me, as she's using them as pawns against me. My fiancé says hello and wants everyone to know he's here for me. He also wants to assure everyone that I'm not really that much of a doormat, just when it comes to Carlene, for some reason. I'm looking into counseling through my work since it's too expensive out of pocket. Thanks for the messages and the reality checks I obviously needed. For some reason, I became blind to my sister's behavior and was only concerned about losing the boys from my life. I'll probably update when or if I resume contact with my sister if people want to know how it goes. Additional info from Up. It's only Wednesday, and I just blocked her. I don't understand when she sleeps. I've been getting messages and calls every 2 to 4 hours since last week. I'm crying because it feels like I'm shutting my nephews out, but this is exhausting. My fiancé has been checking the messages twice a day to make sure there's nothing important in between. I haven't read any of them. It's just her calling me names and cursing at this point, not even coherent sentences. Still nothing on the CPS report. Relevant comments. Commenter. I suggest you and your fiancé have a discussion about whether or not you would take custody of the kids if it came to that. Your sister sounds like she may land herself in jail or decide to abandon her kids. It's better to be prepared for any possible outcomes, including CPS removing them from her care. Ops response. Oh wow, true. We definitely don't want kids, but if the alternative is foster care for them, we might have to take them in. I'll talk to my fiancé as soon as he gets home from work. Second update 1 week later. Boring update, but my fiancé unblocked Carlene for a few hours to see if she was still sending abusive messages, and she was. Nothing new there. CPS called and asked for more information, which I provided. They wanted specific dates and proof, so I sent them a lot of screenshots of messages with Carlene. I chose to make the report with my name on it, as I felt it added credibility. It also kind of felt like a punishment for waiting so long to make the report, meaning my sister could now know for sure that it was me who made it, and I'd face the consequences. I've had one Zoom appointment with a psychologist through my work. It's been great so far, and I already got homework on boundaries. It seems fast, but she said they're trained to move quickly since we usually get 5 visits, and there should be progress within that time. I haven't heard from Carlene or the kids, other than the abusive messages. I'm ashamed to say I've driven by the house a couple of times just to see if everything looks normal, and it does. I had a talk with my fiancé after a commenter suggested the kids might need to be removed from Carlene and asked if we were planning on fostering or anything if it came to that. We aren't, we don't want kids and have known that from the beginning. Day-to-day life as a family with kids sounds absolutely horrible. To be honest, there's nothing that appeals to us. We don't even want pets. We would become resentful and probably lose ourselves in the process if we went there. I don't know how much there is to update after this, maybe if contact resumes, but honestly, I'm afraid to send her anything. She's just insulting me, and I don't think she'd even really read what I wrote if I tried. Relevant comments. Commenter. Carlene's got some cracktivities going on.